Three of the happiest years of my life, 2010, 2011, and 2012, I was living out of a van. Last 2 years, I've been living out of a car. Now, once again, I find myself van dwelling. Welcome to Golden Age Now. I'm riding up this life as I've been living it. I need to release the past day. Rock it, my moonshot with new energy, drive propulsion. Moonshot me, moonshot vibrations, the best version that we can be for the Earth's elevation. Moonshot different photos, yeah, that's cool too. But the stress of the ups and downs, the volatility was getting to me. Remember that there are more powerful incentive ways with capacity to contribute positively to the shit today. My life I can save, and I can contribute to yours. Moonshine, a best version I can be, best version I can be, sets me free. Moonshot crypto, yeah, that's cool too. Moonshot Nubia is even better. This one's called Moonshot. And we be working on Bring It with Greater Fidelity. There's a track out there somewhere. Might be on a computer in storage. A few days ago, I worked something up, reworked it 90 minutes ago or so, and here we go with such. 3 of the happiest years of my life I spent living out of a van, with much time living back and forth between Vancouver and North Vancouver as suited my life of the day. Vancouver and North Vancouver as suited my life of the day or the next. For almost exactly 2 years, from March 1st of 2022, I lived out of a car. For about 11 months it ran, and the latter 13 months it did not. 12 months actually, but 12 and a half months. Generally needing a new engine and some other smaller issues. Mostly it had suffered from financial poverty. While it ran, it was an agreeable enough way to live for someone with an active life as mine was and yet is. When stuck in one place for months, initially I was in an area that was convenient walking distance to almost all of my daily amenities, including places I could walk to and busk for fun, practice, income, and community involvement. For those that don't know the term busk or busking, it's a public performance of music, some kind of sidewalk performance. Typically it's music. It could be magicianship, comedy, puppeteering, any number of different things of public vibe sharing. And some sharing coming back to the performer as well. It's giving and receiving of love. I used to perceive of it, and I'm glad I remember that in this moment. Those months evolved through 3 locations. The first location, the vehicle never actually broke down. It just stopped starting. And the day previous to it, I picked up this sweet battery rechargeable amplifier. It's got 50 watts, great fidelity, a better sound than one I'd been using for previous year or two with busking. And the other one had stopped recharging. The Bluetooth wasn't working. It was a great buy, economical, loud. Audio fidelity was a little funny. It the way the sound was amplified to be so loud distorted the sound some, but it was pretty awesome for $100. This thing I got a great deal on used, and the day after I picked it up, my vehicle stopped starting, and I felt that had been coming. It stopped starting at what had evolved to become at that time my favorite place to be overnighting, with walking distance to all kind of great amenities, including the community center. It was a community center parking lot, and I was pretty concerned how that was going to go. And I was there for a bunch of weeks. There's a church across the way that I had made some connections with. I knew that when I had to move from that parking lot, I would be to the parking lot across the way. So I was at the community center parking lot for about 6 weeks. Then a bunch of snow came, and it was obvious that my vehicle wasn't moving. I had the snow on the roof, snow around the vehicle, because it was getting that little lot was getting cleared at night, and my spot was not. So I was found out, and they were good with me about the time that I had to leave. They gave me a week to leave, and it ended up being 10 days. So I went over to the lot, the church parking lot. I'd made some connections there previously. Every other week, I had been going there for a $25 grocery store food gift card, and I would sit through an abbreviated church service with a bunch of other people prior to receiving the card. I didn't mind the church service. Some of it I enjoyed, and some of it I quite did not. Very spiritually disempowering. And after I'd been there for a few sessions over a 6-week period of time, reflecting upon Christianity in a way that I had not done for quite some time, I was inspired as the revelations with the chapter in the book that part of the revelations, part of the inspirations included the name of the chapter, Demons in the Dogma, to which I added something to lighten it up a little bit. The chapter is called Demons in the Dogma, Angels Near and Far. So from the community center parking lot, the snow blew my cover, it snowed my cover, and over to the that church parking lot I was at for a couple of weeks. They let me be there for 2 weeks, and from there it was pushed out to street side. I was there for a bunch of months, and some people did complain about it, and I found that to be a curious thing, that there was a guy living in great hardship. No houses where I was parked. Oh, we're gonna modify the key. The cramped condition of this reality set. It is what it is, and that is a little foreshadowing of what's to come. That was the sound of acoustic guitar, and I promise when I play that in a few minutes, it's going to sound some better than that did. Get our lighting going some here too. It's not as clear. Oh, I see why. It's a computer screen as well. Here we go. That's it. That's what we need. So where were we? The parked on that street, people had complained, and it amazed me at the time that somebody traditionally housed with a bathroom, a kitchen, great warm comfortable place to sleep at night, privacy, all kinds of different things, a refrigerator, a place to plug in a blender. That's what I most missed. I'm mostly into raw food, certainly my vegetables, and really the appliance I most have missed is a blender. I make some epic smoothies with all kinds of strange stuff like garlic and ginger. Ooh, ginger not so weird. Garlic is kind of weird in there. Veggies, all kinds of awesome stuff. So there's a guy having great hardship in his vehicle, and somebody in a home has a problem with that. It's just so weird for me that they were the one with the problem while I was in clearly financial challenge. So bylaw said to me that as long as I moved my vehicle every few days, it was okay. Eventually it was but every week they were okay with that. They weren't really on my butt for it. I was there for a bunch of months, and eventually it did get towed, but I was able to catch it, and that is, I know that I wrote about that in here, so I'm not going to get into that. So that was the third location, the third spot. From the third stationary location, not being able to drive the vehicle, it was eventually towed from one bylaw zone to another of the same city. It's a little hard to get your head around that in North Van, we have both the city of North Vancouver and the district of North Vancouver, both of which combined are North Vancouver, and you likely not notice the difference while uh, driving about or riding about, walking about. Do any municipal work vehicles seen have slightly different writing on them, and the cops function from a single central location in this hybrid city, and they are the RCMP. It's a little difficult to understand the difference between the city and the district until you have a reason to, like I recently did. Towed from the city to the district from one bylaw zone to another, I was no longer on a tow list. We pushed it out of the tow yard. Tow yard release was paid for by, let's call it, the higher power. I'm a fan of the Most High. Some like to call this God. Some find religious connotations with that. They don't like the term. I like to use the term God sometimes as well. I don't think of the Christian God. And different people have different, prime mover is a good one. People have different terms for it. Some have no terms for it, but like gravity, it's there whether we believe it or not. And like gravity, we don't know how it works either. Though it they're both they're both quite happening. They're both quite working. Down a little bit on this. So tow yard release was paid for by, let's call it, the higher power, manifest through a person I've known for the last couple years of car dwelling, a community center cleaner that had often seen me working on the book, and we'd had numerous conversations. He referred to it as God's money, not his. Though it was Roger that flexibly sent me the cash to pay it back when you can, he said, providing me with $300 when I needed $275, and I hope he'll let me pay it forward when I'm ready. The tow office worker, an office worker there, she bought a copy of my book, as did somebody I'd recently met and saw a few weeks later in relation to my new daytime routines. So because of my vehicle being towed, though, I mean, there's a pay it forward, preferably, now in existence, that was $25 greater than I needed at the time, which was uh, just, I want to say that I needed it, but more so it was like an emotional salve. I just, the situation felt a little better. I felt like I was getting towed, but being bettered by the situation. The worker in house at the time, she bought a copy of the book, and another copy of the book sold in relation to the new location happenings coming from the new digs orientation. I find that when a seeming darkness comes at me, if I stay in heart, it just ends up for the better. It's this incredible thing that I've experienced sometimes in recent years. One of the tow workers and I, we pushed the car out to a spot I'd already taken note of, about a half block away. At that time, it was about 10:30 p.m. when there were spaces available. It stayed for about 4.5 months in the same well-tolerated spot, seemingly fully unmonitored by bylaw, unlike the city of North Vancouver, and it was situated across from a nice little park with some maturely grown, possibly old growth evergreens, and directly in front of a small office building with private parking for company staff to one side of the building. No longer were my amenities in ready walking distance. There were 7 blocks of walking to the bus, or about a 35-minute walk to the shower program that started my non-workout days and still does. Never did the sun reach my car in that new location, with the winter sun so far to the south, though I was safely off any tow list, and as the days and weeks passed, no longer was I worried about seeing a notice on the windshield or, worse yet, an empty parking spot. Without the warmth and drying of the sun some days, there was much condensation, though I leave my doors open a crack, yet locked during the day, and this helped with some light airflow and much yet incomplete drying within, and one window was always down a little, concealed by rain guards that were above all four windows. Mold began to grow from the plush interior fabric that covered much of the doors, and particularly it grew from the level surface at the base of the windows. I would knock it back with paper towels and rubbing alcohol when I saw it reaching upwards with vertical threads. Something a marvel of nature it had first appeared to me, upwards like plants, yet no soil and no seeds. Other areas of the cramped vehicle were not so easy to deal with, and it didn't sprout in the same vertical way as the window ledges, you could call them. My spirit and demeanor were mostly bright as I went about my day, with passerbys, good acquaintances, and a handful of friends I'd made from my daily comings and goings in certain areas and amenities of town. One morning, I locked my keys in the car as I lightly loaded the sidewalk with day pack of food and clean clothing for after my shower and my bass trombone for busking. The tow company a half a block away opened it for free, as organized by a tow guy sitting in his tow truck out front, one that had towed me that other time, though with timely presence I knew it to be coming and had been able to divert it to private property at lesser expense than being impounded. Towed to that church lot I'd been in for a couple of weeks. Go through the office, he said. Go through the office, he said. Just ask, they'll probably be okay with it, but his truck had cameras and it had to be okayed by them first. They did okay it, and it was awesome to be able to see them as helpful people, willing to do a little something to help out because they could, rather than so much shady business towing can be. Certainly it has its community services, though if you get your vehicle impounded, that lot anyways, it comes with a premium charge way above what you would have from towed A to B, and it's not a bylaw fine. You still have the bylaw fine, so that's his, I suppose it's from the owner. And to see the staff as helpful people is just it was a beautiful experience, actually, the way it went full circle that way. Significantly brightened my day. The depth of the experience, which included that I had had about $110 at the time, a lot of money for me in these last couple years, and it would have been emotionally rough and fiscally challenging to have put in the $80 he said that it would normally cost. Despite starting and ending the day in the somewhat squalid conditions of a car never touched by the warming and drying of direct sunlight, my spirit was mostly bright as I went about my days and weeks with regular exercise and getting out busking a few times a week or more, and reflecting upon how to progress with book marketing and distribution, plenty of new songs I'd been working on. One coming in a few minutes. I almost always carried with me a cardboard protected copy of the book for whoever might be benefited by it, with respectful and dutiful monetary purchase. My previous base of operations of warmth under layers, trunk storage of instruments, and an interior combination of food pantry, clothing closet, shelter from any wind or storm, and rear window covered privacy for sleeping in. That car was towed a few days ago.
It was a good home. Now it's on its way to car heaven.
At my own discretion, towed for scrap. Despite other things I would have preferred to have done with it, I had to let it go. I needed to. I found that I wanted to. I wanted to begin a new chapter. Once again, I find myself living out of a van, and I'm mostly elated in doing so. Many might deem this an impoverished way to live, and there is some truth to this, though this would depend greatly on the van or vehicle type, with some high-roofed vehicles, with some high-roofed ones, amply comfortable tiny homes on wheels, depending on how they're outfitted, ones that are city-friendly for parking and mobility. Oddly, what many might deem an impoverished way to live has, for me, been a significant upgrade upon my life of recent months, the last year, and certainly even in comparison to when the car was running well. Everything is relative. Everything is relative. Some people have responded as I shared this happenstance with them in this week past. Many of my sufferings of recent years I'm happy for, and that I've witnessed through first-hand experience hardships that are to be remedied in entrance to the golden age. Also have I showered community centers with homeless addicts and mused about the difficulties of their worse off circumstances than my own, with addiction, lack of security for possessions, and in my estimation, perhaps the greatest poverty of all, the lack of living with purpose. And there are many poor, rich people with great finances, yet hearts of poverty. Many having hearts with minds that need meds to sleep at night, perhaps even to cope with their days, when all they need to do is start helping people they feel real good. I've heard it said, now I gotta get a little strange in this, because it's part of me, part of what I do. I don't find it strange. I find it to be quite of reality, though to some people's eyes, ears, hearts, minds, this might come across kind of strange. And it's saying unusual things. It's just doing unusual things has kind of become my thing. I've heard it said that some extraterrestrials have asked contacts something to the effect of, how can we have our own people living on the street? Indeed, I've long slept only a little above it, great though that distance has been. Some the answer I know to be that our planet has long been manipulated quite directly by negatively oriented beings, primarily reptilian humanoids and their similarly hidden human cohort, to maximize suffering and minimize well-being. According to various accounts, we also have some reptilians in the inner earth that are not of such ilk. And the honeycomb-like structure, the honeycomb-like cavern structures within our world are teeming with diversity, some with great heights of technological development. Gonna get those lights going one more time, and perhaps it's going to get us to the end of this vid. Let's make sure the computer stays lit up as well. It's a guitar. It doesn't fall this time. It almost did. Inner Earth diversity, some with great heights of technological development. Amazingly, some recent and ancient UFO sightings, UAPs to use the modern terminology, are from in here rather than out there. So strange that the negatively oriented reptilians perceive this state of things to be in their benefit. Though when rereading now, it comes to me that this is a predator-prey relationship, and I take heart in the fact that I cannot readily understand this, likely nor could you. Some of their exploits are exceedingly dark, Also, is our planet in this state simply because we have allowed this to be so? I experienced this upgrade as a great blessing in my life, and from some depths to which I fell in this life while working on my music, learning about what really happened and what is really happening in the path to the golden age, working through ongoing personal growth and multi-level healing. I know that I will be able to savor all levels of wellness more fully in my growth to come, having endured various maladies. And I still gotta go pee. We've remedied the excellent hydration I had prior to this. A healthy energy beverage, it's some herbs, barely any sugar, and I made up a caffeinated protein beverage as well, some snacks in between the two, and some time lapsed. I knew I wasn't going to make it to the end of this in comfort and play a song in comfort. And I'm still kind of getting used to being in front of the camera, which I enjoy, to be honest. But I'm not 100% comfortable with it. Yeah, maybe I am. It's stimulating. It's stimulating, energizing. And I think that's what it is. It's stimulating. Yeah. The caffeination as well. If it was just water, it wouldn't have been an issue, but different beautiful things in those substances. No alcohol, not really into that. Not like I was when I was 21. A few beers a year, maybe, something like that. These days, we were at. I experienced this upgrade as a great blessing in my life, and from some depths. Just making sure I was recording because I re-recorded something on this segment from earlier. Why am I saying that? Why am I not going to re-record and just jump straight into this? I'm getting a little tired. It's 9:17 p.m. It's not entirely late, but I've been sleeping early. Let's focus. Could do some engineering after this to get it online, and we'll sleep at a good time. It'll be fine. It's going to turn out golden, in fact. I experienced this upgrade as a great blessing in my life, and from some depths to which I fell in this life while working on my music, learning about what really happened and what is really happening in the path to the golden age. Working through ongoing personal growth and multi-level healing, I know that I will be able to savor all levels of wellness more fully in my growth to come, having endured various maladies, while likewise coming to understand the imperative of, to reference a chapter in my new book, happynomical development, happynomics, happynomics. The title of the chapter, happynomical development, both to end suffering and to support the great and glorious productivity that will arise from the surface dwellers of earth, productivity that will arise from vitality as universally that we can foster it. With crisis-oriented, thicker-than-water involvement in my life in recent weeks that I sense was orchestrated from the higher power, 10 days following my initial encounter with district bylaw enforcement, living out of a seemingly broke down car, though technically it had stopped starting and I had felt this was coming. 10 days following the encounter with district bylaw, and I was in a well-running, fairly spacious van. The intermediary location that the vehicle had been pushed to with some local assistance was several blocks closer to the bus, several blocks closer to a mall that I was using for my secret practice spot, and Could also get filtered water jug refill, reverse osmosis water, the grocery store there and more. Also, grocery store closer. It was a good spot to be a few blocks closer to. It was also a location from which bylaw soon notified me upon the windshield without issuing ticket or tow warning at that time. Somebody or some people had seemingly complained there as well. Though the day prior to the notification on the windshield, there was a positively toned note and simple artwork. Drawing created, I figured, by a standout worker in my eyes, Chris, that had bought a copy of my book. About 6 weeks previous to that, 2 months, as I'd been walking through, he'd seen me a number of times. We met for some conversation. He was cool. He got the book. That's why I normally carry a copy with me wherever I go for whoever may be benefited by it. From that intermediary location, the mid-morning sun of about 9:30 a.m. was impacting my vehicle in a most welcome and refreshing way, where once again my morning preparations could be done and warm. My circumstances were surely and are surely in the midst of great improvement. Just for us. In so many respects. I live for the earth and beyond, and within as well. Let us do a reading of the day. What really happened? Let us do a reading from the book. But first, an honorable mention to the last reading of the book from tonight. That was beautiful. I can't replicate it. Due to technical difficulties, it is no longer in this camera. I'm not going to get into what happened with that, but I do want to mention what it was. It was a reference to the chapter, The Organics and the AI, and that there are benevolent forces working on and around the earth, cultivating towards the natural. There are malevolent forces, whatever is the ultimate opposite of cultivation, towards the unnatural. And in a sense, that is central to the spiritual war on the planet of several core elements. It is about a conflict between natural and unnatural. So that's the honorable reading. Shout out to what was and yet is. And an actual reading from What Really Happened, A Tale of Two Worlds and the Path to the Golden Age. This is available currently being fulfilled through Amazon.com.ca, and the rankings are not yet favorable for this book, so it's a little difficult to find. I found the easiest way to find it on Amazon is using the search term What Really Happened, Two Worlds. What Really Happened, Two Worlds. Another way to find it is through my website with a link to Amazon.ca and .com. The website that I have been hosting is Golden Path, 10 letters, goldenpath.earth. There will be music forthcoming there as well, perhaps some other things, and the reading of today. Let us see what forth we shall bring. Is the author pro-Trump? The author is very much an advocate for truth and an advocate for freedom. Same goes for the vax topic. I see Trump's posturing frequently in support of both truth, though he withheld from scrutinizing Big Pharma, and so much of the becoming increasingly notorious three-letter agencies, thanks to RFK Jr., and freedom and world peace. Admittedly, this is a little difficult out of context to understand. More balanced, more harmonious ones. Part of the reason I'm having a difficult time reading this is that I've noticed that in recent days, Trump has been bullied by mainstream media. He's been called a liar. He has many lies on record. I don't doubt that. There is a chapter in this book. It is called Trump, Biden, RFK, and Trudeau. And I like Trump. There's a lot of things I like about Trump. I don't think he's a perfect person. And I think that Biden is a puppet villain. Trump is not a puppet. He's not a perfect person. And he is a patriot. And many years ago, I'd hear the term patriot. Wasn't particularly fond of it. These days, I feel like patriots are warrior defenders, preferably peaceful ones, peaceful warriors. Is the author pro-Trump? The author is very much an advocate for truth and an advocate for freedom. That excerpts from the chapter. I won't get the name correct on that, the wording of it. Some of the chapters I recall word for word their title, some of them not so much. So that one, yeah, that's from the chapter The Great Inversion. How our planet is in so many ways inverted, upside down, and it contrasts the, we could say, of two narratives, two paradigms of perspective. It contrasts the light narrative from the dark narrative. And if you pardon the judgmentally laden inclusion at this point in time, that there's a paragraph that follows. It's the chapter is a side-by-side comparison on a couple of dozen different topics. It's a great one for some quick reads. There's a paragraph that follows contrasting Trump and Biden. Point of clarification, that Trump reference. It didn't follow a comparison of Trump and Biden. It followed a reference to Trump. There is a chapter that does contrast Trump, Biden, RFK Jr., and Trudeau. And in that chapter that I just referenced, I do note that there is a great contrast between Trump and Biden and which side they're playing for. Let's play a song, y'all. I've been through tonight's video. The first 3 videos, they all went off without a hitch. This one has had several of them, and this video has been a couple hours in the making. And that's also why I had to have a pee break in there. And part of the warmth and headway that I've had with this video is looking forward to playing this song, because it feels good to listen to music we enjoy. It feels good to make music we enjoy. This one, some space here around the bass trombone case. By the way, I'm not showing you around my digs just yet because soft case behind the bass trombone case is what I mushed back through there a little bit. I'm not showing you around the digs here because gonna get a little bit of stuff out of storage, a desk in particular. Do some reorganizing in here. This is going to be a mobile creation station, and some vertical orientation is important when you have limited space. This one is called Coal to Diamond. And to be entirely honest, as I keep working these songs, a lot of the songs I don't exactly know exactly for sure how they start. Kind of takes me a few seconds to get into it. I got to work on that. Like that maybe that sounded all right, but to my ears and the way I felt, it felt like a clumsy start. Let's do it in a more lined manner. Coal to Diamond. Somebody by a long time. Suffer and suffer by a long time, radically perseverant. Some boy by a burning desire to serve the planet in this time of planet, a terror river. What will they say? A radical long time under pressure. Called to diamond. Been a while since I'd been by a campfire. Been a while since I had a kitchen. And it's been a little while since I've been practicing and singing guitar because I've been doing different things about the van, getting the van going again. And maybe I'm going to do the song again in the next video. I'm going to finish it now. And no apology for stopping midway because I felt to speak safe. Been a while since I've been by a campfire. Been a while since I had a kitchen. How long can I go without other? Whenever I go as far as I need to, perhaps a little bit farther. Like what is it? Knuckle long time under pressure. Called a diamond. Called a diamond. See 1111 on the recording there. The segment of it. Y'all have a wonderful day, wonderful night. And let us build the golden age. Now.